because I feel like they probably sent in from China. And
Alright, hello Acolytes, welcome to the Cleric Corner. My name is Riker, and here we talk about all things Dungeons & Dragons, tapping into our higher powers to create worlds more unique and stories more impactful. Now, today we're going to do some fun things that I'm really excited for, because I'm going to do something that I haven't yet done before and I feel like would really tie to the channel a lot, and then we're going to go over some 1D&D stuff. So, if you've been around the D&D sphere for a while, and if you've seen a lot of YouTube videos that other D&D YouTubers have done, you may have found that some people are frustrated with the transparency of D&D, or Wizards of the Coast, the owners of D&D. And with the recent One D&D video that they did, talking about their responses for the first iteration of the One D&D playtest, they are more open about their process. So we're going to go over that today. But first, I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon members. Of course, you make it possible for me to do this every day, or yeah, basically every day, but every week on my channel. Spending time with you is one of my favorite things to do. And I edited like 2 videos today, and I can't wait to just put them out and see you guys' response to them. Anyways, thank you so much for our Cleric, Scott Burns, our Acolytes, Kaleidoscope, and Weaver Atropos. And then our Disciples, Christian Roberts, Ryan Ramirez, Christopher Byram, Melkadil, Oren Hammerquist, 95 miles per hour, Tonberry, Matt Clark, Exy, I8 Civil Servants, and Peter N. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys do want to support me in that way, there's a link below in the description to my Patreon. So a lot of cool perks over there, as well as my monthly magazine, where next month, actually coming out tomorrow, is the festivals and celebrations. So just in time for Christmas for those who celebrate it, Hanukkah for those who celebrate it, and all other holidays that may come up both in and outside of your games. I feel like holidays are one thing that you really do want to include into your games, because they are a big part of the real world as well, and a nice little break from fighting monsters and taking quests is a holiday celebration. So hopefully that'll just be an extra bit of usefulness and tools to aid into your game. Who do we have in the chat? We have Pedro Longoria, hello, and Roland Kritz. Such nice work ethic, thank you. Yeah, it's been an issue recently. Am I loud, guys? I feel like I'm too loud today because my mic is saying that it's clipping, but I'm not sure, because usually I don't get up that high. Maybe I can turn myself down a little bit. There we go. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Anyways, if I'm too loud, let me know. But I'm excited for today, okay? So, of course, as always, if you do want to ask a question, we can, of course, get to that. Just put question in all caps before your comment, and then write out your question. And then I can see it in the chat and get to it really easy. And then if you guys want to donate or again, support the channel, you can do a super chat. And of course, we'll spend more time on those questions. So anyways, we have Dylan Lally in the chat. Hello, Victoria Gabriel Aquino Vieira. That's, wow, I think that's the longest name that I've seen on stream. Congratulations. So great. Oh, Roland Kritz says I'm lovely. You know what, Roland? This is the only reason that I come to these streams now, is because I know that I'm going to be complimented, and I need this weekly boost. That's really the only reason I do this. Okay, so anyways, yeah, you guys get the drill, ask questions, but we are kind of going into a couple things today. Again, One D&D stuff, and then Lunar Magic Sorcerer stuff, where we will be going into, like, does it actually feel like a Lunar Sorcerer when you play it? Which, again, is kind of a question that not a lot of people visit, and I feel like we might have some cool insights for that one. So, anyways, Coulter Wilson, hello, and Shiner81, good day. Thank you guys so much for coming to the stream today. I am so happy to have you here. I'm looking forward to getting all of your comments and your ideas in this. So, just real quick, I'm going to show you, not the video itself. I'm not going to go through it because it's 40 minutes long, but I'm going to give you the rundown. But just so that you can see it. All right, so One D&D survey results and the future of One D&D. It's the newest one that they have out, the newest video as of, November 30th. And this one here just goes into more about the ins and outs of what they do, right? As the playtest goes and what kind of their mindset around it. So basically the breakdown is what they've told us, is they kind of put it down to a percentage. Below 50% means that the things that they're, and we're talking about satisfaction rate here. So satisfaction rate, 50% or lower. If people aren't satisfied with it, then they trash it. They're like, no, we're done with it. It's not going to appear. And this is how they've done previous UAs. This is the first time we've heard this. So previous Unearthed Arcanas, when they put playtests out for us to enjoy and for us to give feedback on, we give those feedback. And if there's a below 50% satisfaction rate, they just throw it away, which is crazy. And so then above 50%, that's kind of where they stick to. That's their playing field. And when it comes to about 50 to 60 or 60 to 70, around that area, that means that they'll like it. They do like it, except they need some changes. They need to rework it. They're like the premise. There might be something good that's there, but it's not quite there yet. And then like I'd say 70, well, more like 65 to 80-ish about, is they're like, this is what they want. This is the direction we're going. We're going to keep this, but we might make some changes, right? And then when it gets to about 80 to 90 to 100%, that's when they're like, this is exactly what they want. We will not change it. We can't change it except maybe for some balancing issues, but we're keeping this as is and we're pushing it out. Pretty crazy, right? I see Dylan Lally. You're getting ahead of yourself. Lunar Sorcerer should have 100% have Moonbeam. Yes, we will talk about that today. So, anyways, where was I? So this is what they had to say. Oh my gosh, we got a raid from Indestructiboy. Hello, that's the first time that's ever happened. Welcome everybody to the stream. We're talking about the One D&D. I imagine you guys were doing some play or some homebrew feedback. I think Indestructiboy was giving his guidance over there. He's a great person to do that. Here we're talking a little bit more about flavor. But anyways, when it comes to One D&D, when it hits the 80 to 90%, they're like, we'll keep it as is. If it's below 50%, they're like, no, not going to happen. We're going to cut it from there. And then we got Toaster Gopher in the chat. Hello, Patricia's the Human Fighter. I did see you. And then the least amount, the one thing that they had the least amount of votes for this One D&D playtest, we're talking about the number one. So actually, I'll show you guys. So this is the one that we're talking about. Not the one about expert classes, not the one where it goes over the rogue, the ranger, I think, no, it didn't go over the artificer, but the expert classes. We're talking about the one before. So the one talking about character origins, the races, the rules, and things like that. And the number one least amount voted for was the D20 natural 20 getting a inspiration. So when you roll an inspiration die, when you roll a D20 die, and you get inspiration if you roll a natural 20. That was the lowest, which we figured. We figured that would happen because everyone hated it. We love the new way where you get it on a natural 1. That's good, right? Hey, Indestructiboy is in the chat. Hey, great. Hello. And then the one that they got the most on was feats at level 1. Meaning from your background, right? So when you choose a background, a feat is included. Now, a lot of people love that, and a lot of people think that that's what should have happened. I personally am not a fan of that, and that's completely fine if you don't share that opinion, and you can play as you want to play. I personally probably won't even do that when it does get to that point of 1D&D, but who knows? We'll see. Because of this one reason, is that I think a lot of people vote and a lot of people do the surveys and the feedbacks depending on how they play. And usually the only ones giving these feedbacks are people who have played D&D for a very long time. And they want something new, they want more powerful things. Power creep is a real thing, we've talked about that, other YouTubers have talked about that. However, the people who are not taking these surveys are the people who don't play D&D, or the newcomers to D&D. And that's where I worry, is that the newcomers to D&D are going to come on and they need to choose a backstory, and they need to choose a background, and they need to choose a class, and they need to choose a race, and then now they need to choose a feat, and possibly 2 to 3 feats, depending on the class and the race that you take. So it's gotten so complicated to start someone off on the game, and that's my only hang-up with it. I'm recently starting a Spelljammer game. We're starting in 2 weeks, and I already have spent an exorbitant amount of time with two newcomers to D&D, with helping them create their characters, and it's a little overwhelming for them, as they've shared with me, and I've done a lot to help streamline with them, right? Even doing things for them in some cases, but it gets to be a lot, right? It gets to be a lot of the time. So that's my opinion. But as far as the whole D&D things goes, right, they receive feedback from everyone. I just hope that we kind of keep that in mind when we fill out our One D&D surveys, is that, yes, we'd like to play these things, but we also want it to be easy and good for newcomers as well. Because that's what we ultimately want. We want the D&D stratosphere to keep growing and to become bigger, to become, oh, what's the word? Not long-suffering. What is it? Ageless? You know what I mean. To become a way that it doesn't stop being what we love it to be, and it doesn't become unpopular, but it continues to grow, right? That's what we want. And yeah. So anyways, I've beat the dead horse on that one. So other things that they said is, one, I should say this. 2 races did really bad. Really, really bad. One was the Ardling, which I was really disappointed on, because I actually really loved the Ardling, but it was in the 60 to 70th percentile, or the 60 to 70% rate of satisfaction. So they're keeping it. They're just changing it a lot. A lot of people did not like that they were associated with the angels part of things, like the Aasimar. And so people are like, oh, it's too similar. It's replacing the Aasimar. And no, it's not. We're still have the Aasimar, but we'll just have these as well. And I went to, in another video that I might link at the end, or in the description, that the intent, or at least I thought the intent was, to create deities or half-deities of other religions, right? So, like Ganesh or Anubis or things like those with animal heads and humanoid bodies. That's essentially what the race is. And a lot of people didn't like that, but they love the beast side of things, and that's what the feedback generally was. And so they're going to go back to the drawing board and just make it more beast-like, which is fine. I think that a lot of people will be satisfied with that. Maybe we'll finally get like a doggy race, right, where we don't have a dog race yet, but they're going to get rid of a lot of the celestial elements. So, Indestructible Boy, it says D20 auto success, auto fail was the lowest. Yeah, inspiration stuff seemed to get lower responses. Yep. But I want to see what the response rate was for the new one. I bet it's up in the 80 to 90% percentile. Also, people didn't like the rolling back the Dragonborn. Yeah, so that's the second race that kind of got the shaft, was the Dragonborn. The Dragonborn was not also popular. And because of the feedback, and I did this exact feedback, was that it was very unlike Fizban's Tracer of Dragons and their version of the Dragonborn, where we did so much work to create it to the way that it was supposed to be, or the way that we felt was really good mechanically, and then we just shafted it way back for the One D&D, and it didn't really make sense. And that's essentially what they got. And so they're going to go back to the drawing board and change it to exactly more in line with the Fizban's Treasury Dragons. And Jeremy Crawford said that himself. And they said that they're going to add like a 5th level feature to it, and that might be it. They're just kind of maybe bumping up that feature to a higher level. That could be what is happening. But at the end of the day, they're going to redo the Dragonborn and the Ardling, and they're actually going to appear, I'm pretty sure, they're going to appear in the next iteration of the One D&D playtest. So tomorrow, essentially, I think is when they're going to announce it or to release it. So I might do another video covering that tomorrow, or we'll see. We'll see what happens. But another thing that he said was what they're covering tomorrow or in the next one is the Cleric. I wanted to think that they're going to go over all the priest classes, right? I think it was the Paladin, the Cleric, and the Monk? Are those no. What was the 3, or is it just the 2? The 2 divine classes. I forget. But there's more than one. There's more than the Cleric, anyways. But they only mentioned that the Cleric was going to be in the new one. So I'm excited to see what that is. But it looks like they're also slowing down, because the last one was, I think it was over 30 pages of One D&D playtest. They're trying to cut it down into like more manageable sizes, which is good. But we also won't get as much at one time. And yeah, that's a lot, but then you get a lot of context, right? Oh, I do see we have a question in the chat. Oh, and it got deleted? Oh, Pedro says, should the character's personality have a ideological change whenever they shift, like, their powers? Oh, to kind of switch gears for the question, should a character's personality have an ideological change when they shift, like, their powers? Yeah, I mean, if that's a roleplay aspect that you want to do, absolutely. Heck, you have Hulk, you have Venom, just as prime examples, who have a different personality altogether. And so, yeah. Chemicals are a funny thing. And it's actually, I can't believe I'm going to use this example, but a lot of women, when they're on birth control, their hormones and certain chemicals in the brains are changed in a variety of ways. I won't even pretend to know the ins and outs of that. However, there has been lots of cases where they take certain birth controls or they do certain things where they stop being attracted to their partner. Or vice versa, where they start being attracted to someone who they were before. And this is a weird example, it's a strange example, but I'm using this example because in the same essence, chemicals change the brain, magic can change the brain, transformations in a magical way can change the brain, and their outlook and perspective and their personality on life. Sure, absolutely. It's a good question. Oh, you have another one. Awesome. Is there any third-party supplement you recommend to new players that want to build the unconventional character build? Interesting. Is there any third-party supplement you recommend to newcomers that wants to build an unconventional character build? So I guess a build that's not official and not conventional to the ones in the official D&D. So if you're playing a druid, you're playing something that's not really druid-esque, if that makes sense, if I'm hearing you right. We can always check out my content, and my website's down in the description below. But I know that, oh heck, Ghostfire Games, Cobalt Press, a lot of third-party content, does amazing things. Indestructible, who's in the chat before, he does full subclass and class homebrews that he does. And so honestly, there's so many out there that it's really hard to pin it down. But I just kind of find some things that I like. I kind of get a concept in mind, and then I go searching out for a subclass, if that makes sense. So yeah, you might find a good one here, or you might find a good one there. It all depends. Okay, where was I? Oh, another thing that they're implementing in the new one that I don't think will be coming out tomorrow is a Bastion system, which is a full system where the players get their own home base, get to know how to use how to use downtime in that home base, and basically have NPCs and servants and things like that. It's going to be a full fleshed out system for their essentially HQ, right? And that'll be pretty interesting to see. Another thing that we get to look forward to, a new weapon system for the fighters or the warriors. A new weapon system. We don't know that's going to look like, but that's exciting because, and another video, again I keep referencing my other videos because hey, I talk about this stuff a lot, is that while we have spellcasters who have the whole spell casting system and the spell system even beyond their own class, I feel that fighters need the same thing. And I felt before that the maneuvers from the Battlemaster fighter should be just that, right? It'd be like spells for the fighter. And the fighter getting different maneuvers depending on their level and depending on different abilities that they have as they kind of level up. And my hope is that they take it away from the Battlemaster fighter, they take those maneuvers, and they give it to everybody. They give it to all of the martial classes as that level up alternate external system, right? And I would be exceedingly excited about that, right? And I think that would be a quick change to the spellcaster and the fighter dynamic, where one seems to be where one seems to have all the power and one does not, right? Okay, the last thing that they talked about before we can move on to the Lunar Sorcerer stuff is the feats. Specifically 2 feats, the Sharpshooter and Weapon Master feat, or Great Weapon Master. The one where you basically take 5 off of your roll to hit in order to get a +10 in damage. And that was very popular for a lot of reasons, and when it was changed to not include that, it got below the 60, 50, I can't remember exactly what percentage, but it was low enough where it was like, ooh, maybe we need to rethink this. However, they said, not really. This is actually how we're thinking about it. We expected it to do really bad because a lot of people love it because it is so good. And that's the problem, is because it's so good that people feel like they are forced to have it or forced to get it because it is the best option. And they want things to be fun. They want us to be able to choose things because we want to play them. But they don't want to force us into making choices because it is the obvious best option. So they are going to go forward with their changes in those kind of feats. and keep that in mind for the future of D&D. And that's something that I invoke all of us to think about as well. That sure, we get tied to a lot of the abilities, a lot of the feats, a lot of the things that may be really powerful, and yeah, power creep is going to be there, right? We talked about that. Just think that, yeah, we just think of it as a trade-off. Yeah, we don't have the sharpshooter or great weapon master exactly the way it was before, but now we get it first level, right? Now we get it at level 1 as a background without any other work. So there's a trade-off here, and I hope that we can kind of get or rally behind that. So that's what that is. What is your opinions of these One D&D things? And I'm sure that tomorrow I'm going to have a whole lot of things to say about the Cleric, and I'm actually so pumped to see what they changed. And because Cleric has been known for quite a while to be a very, very powerful class, a very, very useful class. So I'm curious to see if they're going to change it in any way to bring it down to other classes or to continue its kind of magnificence as we all know it to be. So anyways, yeah, sorry I'm not kind of reading the chat a lot tonight, but I feel like I have a lot of opinions and a lot of things to say today. But so thank you. Let's see. Patricia said, I'm intrigued on the bash and home system. I'm looking forward to see how they handle it. Yeah, I'm intrigued too. It will be on one of the playtests, but not this one. Not this next one. Most likely either with the Warriors or after the Warriors, I'm guessing. Probably after. Roland says, I like that they have given us much more insight into their mindset behind some of this stuff. Yes. Treant Monk did a great video on how much we need to know their mindset. Yes, yes. So like I said, Treant Monk, Nerd Immersion, a lot of other YouTubers have said, we need a better mindset on what you guys are doing or where your heads are at so we can understand this playtest process. Otherwise, we can't help out much, right? I can't tell you what to do if you won't tell me what you're doing. Right? As simple as that. And I feel like this is the start of that, and I hope that they continue. It's still just one kind of piece of where they're at, but at least it's something. And we get to know exactly kind of where we need to push certain areas if we want things to continue, right? So Dylan Lally says that's absolutely true. If you don't pick up those feats, your damage cannot match someone who does. Wow. Sorry, if you don't pick up those feats, your damage cannot match someone who does without magic items. Yeah, no, exactly. There are a few feats that bring up red flags for me for players and tell me if they get like one or two of these feats, then I know they're most likely like a metagamer or they're not. How do I want to say this? Because obviously they're not bad players. It's just the type of player they are. So if they choose certain feats, certain couple feats, it usually informs me what kind of player they are, and it's those ones, right? Okay. Whew! That was good, guys. That was good. Okay. I'm excited for this because the Lunar Magic Sorcerer is something that I was super excited for, and the Lunar Magic Sorcerer is something that we haven't gotten yet, or at least a moon-flavored kind of subclass, unless you count the Druid Circle of the Moon, and that's not really moon, right? I think it still has access to moon because it's a Druid, but in the end of the day, you just transform into animals better and you turn into elementals. Nothing to really have to do with the moon. So I'm excited for this one, but the question remains, does the Lunar Sorcerer match up to being a moon sorcerer? Does it feel moony enough, or moon-ish? Do you get the moon aesthetic when you play it? Meaning that the purpose of the subclass translates into the play style. So basically when you play the sorcerer, you play what you expect, and your play style or how you play or what you experience in the game is what is expected when you look up the subclass, right? And yeah, Nerdy Dell, like the Twilight Cleric, yeah, kind of. It's like a nighttime cleric. So it would be the closest you would get to like a moony cleric. And if you would say like, hey, I'm looking for like a moon domain cleric, that's the one I'd point to if I don't point you to other homebrew. And yeah, so let's look into it. So if we look over at the... If we look over at one of my posts that I did weeks ago, right? This was a post that I did because I wanted to know your guys' opinion, and I wanted to know before Dragonlance came out officially so that people might get their hang-ups or opinions based on what was given. So I asked, ignoring what the Moon Sorcerer will look like in the upcoming Dragonlance book, what do you think a Moon Sorcerer should be able to do? And here are some of the responses. It says, a sorcerer who can use the primal spells the same way as a divine soul can use divine magic. Their signature ability would be a rotating cycle of buffs. New Moon boosts AC, full boost damage, each buff lasts a round of combat, things like that. And I thought that was kind of fun. So primal magic instead of divine magic, which also makes sense because it's nature, right? So I'm just going to read a couple of these, then we're going to skip over, and then we'll come back for the rest. Someone else, or said Edward G, says maybe the moon phase determines how magical you are. By that I mean that there could be some sub-options within the subclasses, similar to Totem Magic Barbarian, Hunter Ranger, where you can build a sorcerer to be more tanky and durable, and based on the phase of the moon, which we do get. And then Troper Hagar says the Moon Sorcerer is the Twilight Domain Cleric, basically, and someone mentioned that in the chat. The same way Divine Soul Sorcerer is the Light Domain, so Magical Dark Vision, a safe place to rest, that sort of thing. So keep that in mind, actually, and we're going to start there. So here we have the Lunar Magic Sorcerer. So with the Lunar Embodiment, the first feature, you learn additional spells when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown on the Lunar Spells table. Each of these spells count as the sorcerer spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of spells you know. So you get a full moon spell with these 5 spells: the shield, lesser restoration, dispel magic, death ward, and various telepathic bond. New moon spell with ray of sickness, blindness, deafness, vampiric touch, confusion, hold monster. Crescent moon spell with color spray, alter self, phantom seed, hallucinatory terrain, and mislead. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can choose what your lunar phase manifests its power through your magic: full moon, crescent moon, or full moon, new moon, or crescent moon. While in the chosen phase, you can cast one level spell of the associated phase in the Lunar Spells table once without expending a spell slot. Once you cast a spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Now, there have been multiple explanations or translations of this thing. In my opinion, this is what happens, is that you only have access to these spells while in that form, for free. You have them on your spell list, I think, for those that are already on a sorcerer spell list, but you only have access to those spells while you're in that form. And then you can only cast the first level spell, so Crescent Moon's Color Spray, New Moon Ray of Sickness, Full Moon Shield, once that day without expending a spell slot. Pretty cool. Then we get Moon Fire at first level. It says you can call down Radiant Light of Moon on command. So I think that this might be a replacement for the Moonbeam spell, which the sorcerer does not have, and a lot of you have pointed that out. The Moonbeam is a spell, the only spell that has a moon aesthetic, and the Lunar Sorcerer does not have that spell. So I don't know why. Maybe they wanted to expand it out and thought that the Moonbeam did not fit into one of these moons specifically. Although, yeah, it would be the full moon because it's a full moon and you have a full moon beam, but I digress. But for some reason it's not there and we don't really get an explanation for it. So instead, you learn the Sacred Flame spell, which doesn't count against the number of cantrips you know. When you cast a spell, you can target an additional creature within 5 feet of the other creature that you target. So you can cast it, Sacred Flame, and then you could basically hit 2 people if they're right next to each other. That's great. But going back to this, what did Troper Hagar say? It says, if it's the night, and if it's like the Twilight Domain Cleric, if it's the moon, they should get dark vision. They don't get dark vision. So if you go with a race that, and maybe I'm missing it, but if you go with a race that does not have dark vision, you have disadvantage of perception under the moon. You're weak under the moon, even though you harness the power of it. So I don't know. So there's one thing. Okay, so we go on. On 6th level, we get Lunar Boons. So your current phase of the Lunar Embodiment can affect your metamagic feature. So each Lunar Embodiment phase is associated with certain schools of magic shown here. With Full Moon, you get Abjuration and Divination. You get New Moon with Enchantment and Necromancy. You get, and then with Crescent, you get Illusion and Transmutation spells. Whenever you use metamagic on a spell, whenever you use, there we go, metamagic on a spell of, let me try that one more time, guys. Whenever you use metamagic on a spell in a school of magic associated with your current Lunar Embodiment phase, you can reduce the sorcery point spent by 1. You can reduce the sorcery point spent for your meta magic a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and then regaining them on a long rest. Whew, sorry, I could not get past that. So anyways, while you're in those this is a lot to keep track of, especially for new players, but I digress. In each of these phases, you have a different spell focus or a different spell specification. Yeah. And while you cast spells in those, you can cast them at lower sorcery points, which is nice, because then you could basically cast meta magic for free at some points. Patricia's Human Fighter, can we say errata incoming? I think there was. There was already an errata on this one, and I think it was with the Crescent Moon. I think it was Divination and Transmutation, where it was a duplicate here, and if you got a book, if you got the Dragonlance book right away, unfortunately this will read Divination. So it's unfortunate, but that's what happened. So, and then we go to Waxing and Waning. So you gain greater control over the phases of the lunar magic. As a bonus action, you spend 1 sorcery point to change your current lunar embodiment phase to a different one. So nice, you can now change it instead of a long rest. You can change it like every round, essentially, every 6 seconds. And then you can now cast 1 level spell from each lunar phase of the Lunar Sorcerer's table without expending a spell slot, providing your current phase is the same as the lunar phase spell. Once you cast the lunar phase spell in this way, you can't do so again until you finish the long rest. Now, I say at the beginning, where you can only access these spells when you're in that phase, is because of that reason. Is because now you can change it, and now you gain access to the first level spell of every one in that day. And so, anyways, it's basically the first level feature, but now you can use it with all of them in a single day. All right, level 14, we get Lunar Empowerment. The power of a lunar phase saturates your being. While you are in a lunar embodiment phase, you also get the following benefits. With Full Moon, you get a bonus action to shed bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light for an additional 10 feet. In addition, you and your creatures of your choice have advantage on intelligence and perception checks. So now we're making up for the dark vision, but now we're level 14. We're up to level 14 now, and we can give off light, awesome, and see in the dark now, but it's at 14 level, and most campaigns don't get to that point. And hey, we don't get a dark vision spell either, so there's that. But finally, at level 14, now, while you're in one phase of the moon, and one phase of the moon only, now you can see in the dark. New Moon, you have advantage on dexterity stealth checks. In addition, while you're entirely in darkness, attack rolls have disadvantage against you. Great, and you also have disadvantage on attacks against everybody else. In Crescent Moon, you have resistance in necrotic and radiant damage. So, awesome. So the Crescent Moon is pretty great. Now, the last one, Lunar Phenomenon. As a bonus action, you can tap into a special power of your current lunar embodiment phase. Alternatively, as part of the bonus action you take to change your lunar phase using the Waxing and Waning feature, this one up here, you can immediately use the power of the lunar phase you are entering. Full Moon, you radiate moonlight for a moment. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be blinded until the next turn. In addition, one creature in that range gets 3d8 hit points. New Moon gets you momentarily emanate gloom. Each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you must succeed a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC, or get 3d10 necrotic damage, and have speed reduced until 0 until the end of the next turn. In addition, become invisible until the end of your next turn, or immediately after you make an attack roll or cast a spell. Now, Crescent Moon, you get magically teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 60 feet of yourself. You can bring along one willing creature that you can see within 5 feet as well. The creature teleports to an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of your destination space. So it basically just teleports with you, which is very wordy, but you get it. In addition, you and the creature gain resistance to all damage until the start of your next turn. Awesome. And then once you use any of these as a bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish the long rest, or you can spend 5 sorcery points in order to do it. Whew! Okay. That is all. That is all we have for the Lunar Magic Sorcerer. So now that we kind of get a gist of what we're looking at, let's see if it kind of adds up. And overall, we're kind of getting the 3 moon phases a lot. We get a lot of the 3 moon, we get spells, we get different abilities, and then we get a kind of a final move at the end as well. Nerdy Dalek says, honestly, a dysfunctional as it is as a moon subclass, let's be honest, this is the Cleric Corner. This is practically built for reflavoring. You know me. What could you possibly channel instead of lunar phases? Oh, so much. So much. Take your pick of 3, right? Well, I mean, I might have some time to think about this, really, but a lot of... You get some divine stuff, you get different... I mean, honestly, this would make, like, a really good wizard. Where you study schools of magic, right? You study schools of magic instead of getting your magic from some lunar thing. You just get a bunch of boons to certain, like, all amounts of magic. So instead of taking, like, a specific school, you're kind of a jack of all trades, and you're a wizard who just researches all of them and is really good because of it. So I think that's kind of cool. Anyways, we're getting off track. I need to think about that later, Nerdy Dalek. You got on the right mindset. I want to keep focused on what we're doing here. Okay, so let's see. Dark and light. Here we have another, like, play with dark and light. I don't think, we do get the darkness spell, don't we? Do we not? Restoration to... Okay, well, we don't get any darkness or light spells either. So even though that we are casting light at 14th level, we don't get, like, a light cantrip, or we don't get a darkness spell. We're not really involving light or darkness in that, which is pretty evocative of a shining moon or the darkness of night. And it's weird that we don't get those either. So interesting. The ability to punish evil in the name of the moon. Well, obviously we got that from Spectre Spark, obviously. And I forgot, Douglas Phillips did the last one. The one True Donut says, I see this as a sorcerer who specializes in meta magic. Moon phases alter different alterations for the spells, which it does. So, check mark, we got that. And so, hey, we actually do, or we're hitting some of these. So, Odog says, heal allies, but when you do so, you hurt enemies around the person you're healing. I don't get where he's coming on, or he or they or she is coming out with that, but it's a good note. Trevor Green enough? Are you green enough? I think they should have abilities based on the phase of the moon, where one could get stronger up to a full moon, but get weaker to a new moon. That's really cool. That's a unique concept. Almost like a power-up system would be very interesting, and also evocative for flavors. Maybe ultimately the Moon Sorcerer could have control over the moon, but I don't know what that looks like. Ooh, so maybe almost like a Skywrite spell, but at night, where it could be influencing the moon. Okay, here we go. Boredom is my name. Says something to do with gravity, light, illusion, and divination spells. Purity and moon phases. Yeah, a lot of people think purity when they come to the moon, and gravity. I know that they're... Oh yeah, the next commenter. Vane Deer says, I'm surprised there's no graviturgy magic involved, to be honest. Yeah, they're right. Actually... Can we look up the graviturgy tag up on this thing? Ooh. Like, will it tell us the graviturgy magic spells or in the spell list? Well, it'll give us the graviturgy magic class. Maybe the graviturgy... Okay, so things like adjust density, gravity well, violent attraction, event horizon. But there's also other ones that have been kind of included in this from the... official one. Oh yeah, so the Dunamancy spell list. Where's the... Oh. What? Oh, because Dunamancy is the collection of both of both Graviturgy and Chronogy. That makes sense. Okay, so here's some spells for the Graviturgy here that we can look at. So we have Sapping Sting, Temporal Shunt, Gift of Alacrity, Magnify Gravity, Gravity Fissure, Tether Essence, Fortune's Favor, Immovable Object, Wrist Pocket, Pulse Wave, Sinkhole, Tether Essence, I think I said that, Dark Star, Reality Break, Ravenous Void, and Time Ravage. And so if we look at the Sorcerer again, do we get any of these? No. 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 I don't think we get any of these. And by all means... I think a lot of these spells, the Dunamancy Graviturgy spells, are accessed in other compendiums, so they might want to just make it more accessible in just getting like the Player's Handbook +1, which is Dragonlance, or which would be Dragonlance in this situation, where these would all be spells that they would get with the original core rulebooks. So I get that, but it could... If we really wanted to play with like the gravity of the moon with tides and orbital, what's the word? Or it keeps us spinning, essentially. I think it does. Anyways, if we wanted to play with that kind of stuff, they would definitely invoke some sort of moon aesthetic or new moon fantasy, and we don't get that. Okay, so next one says Dylan Moore says, I think you should be stronger at night and maybe be able to summon night creatures. Also really cool. Summon night creatures, maybe bats or wolves, also to do with the moon. It would be kind of really cool if we had like a summon creature or something. Obviously, I'm talking about werewolves with the full moon, but a lot of nocturnal animals come out at night. I don't see that being like a focus of like, hey, this is a moon sorcerer, and they can summon animals of the moon. I could see that being like a Circle of the Moon Druid, and I think that might have been what the Circle of the Moon Druid should have been, or at least just and what I mean is like Circle of the Moon Druid's great. Like keep that subclass, it's a fantastic subclass. Just change something else, like Circle of Elementals or something like that. Dylan Moore says, please can you tell us about Tommy G or some summoning spell that their levels for Warlock? I don't know what they're talking about there. Edward Humphrey. Oh, here we're talking about the werewolf. So shapeshifting, alter form, polymorph, and illusion specialties. Polymorph would be an excellent spell for a sorcerer. Do they get it? For a moon sorcerer? They do not. They do not get the polymorph spell. So another spell that the Lunar Sorcerer does not get that maybe they should have. And then the last comment, Dylan Moore says, summon a moon type attack, e.g. Moonbeam or Judgment Attack. So we leave off where we began with the Lunar Magic Sorcerer needing Moonbeam above all else. But essentially, you get some things and you don't get others. You get some phases of the moon that gives you certain abilities for different things, and as you turn into each phase of the moon, but you don't get a lot of spells with gravity, with moons, with shape changing, that you feel would be a part of a big part of fantasy and what it means to have moon-like powers. So, all in all, it's a great one for Lunar Magic as it stands, and a Lunar Magic Sorcerer, awesome. If you want to change it to be more in line with other kind of moon fantasies, I think that would be amazing. And hey, maybe if this video gets enough likes, maybe I'll cut this out and use it for another like half video or partial video where I'll publish it on its own. But if I get enough likes on this video, maybe I will make a Lunar Sorcerer that has all of your ideas in it to be more in line with what we kind of look at as a Lunar Magic Sorcerer. And not saying that this is a bad interpretation. I think it's a great interpretation. I think I really want to play it. I almost did for a one-shot last week, but ended up playing a homebrew of mine, and that's not yet published, but I want to. It's actually maybe I'll share. It's a Circle of Sovereignty, where basically you get to, it's the ultimate control druid, where you change the battlefield, you make difficult terrain, you create obstacles, you create cover. It's basically a landscaper druid, if that makes sense, and you get to be in tune with the immediate area around you and change the battlefield how you'd like. I think it's really fun. So I can't wait to kind of play test it and then get it out for you guys. But anyways, sets in general, I think it would be a great one-level dip just for the once a day shield. Yeah. I mean, with the shield in Ray of Sickness and Color Spray, Color Spray and Ray of Sickness, you're probably not going to use that much, to be honest. But shield, I could see a lot of people getting Lunar Sorcerer and maybe just leveling up in just this class alone and never changing out a full moon for a while until they can do it as a bonus action, until they can change every turn. So, and then Victor says, I love that Lunar Sorcery and Graviturgy Magic. I love that Lunar Sorcerer and Graviturgy Magic, I can make Maya from Borderlands 2. Oh, I'm not familiar with Borderlands 2. It's one on my list. Let's actually look at that. Maybe you can look at Graviturgy Magic, see if it aligns with that. If we get like a level dip with Graviturgy Magic, adjust density. As an action, you can magically alter the weight of one object or creature. Object must be larger or smaller. Target's weight is halved or doubled. While the weight of the creature is halved by this effect, the creature's speed is increased by 10 feet. There's disadvantage on saving throws while light, and then the weight of the creature is, when it's doubled, it is reduced by 10 feet, and then has disadvantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. At 6th level, so that would be a heavy dip into this one, is you've learned to manipulate gravity around living being. Whenever you cast a spell on a creature, you can move a target 5 feet to an unoccupied space of your choice. If the target is willing to move, the spell hits it with an attack, or it fails a saving throw again. Wow. You can move the target 5 feet in an unoccupied space of your choice if the target is willing to move, if the spell hits it with an attack, or if it fails a saving throw against a spell. So it's kind of nice. You basically get a gust cantrip at level 6. It's not very powerful, actually, come to think of it. If you really wanted to go all the way to 10, when another creature that you can see within 60 feet of you hits an weapon attack, you can use a reaction to increase its velocity, and causing the attack's target to take an extra d10 damage of the weapon's type. Alternatively, if a creature within 60 feet of you takes damage from a fall, you can use your reaction to increase the fall's damage by 2d10. You can use this feature in number types equal to your intelligence modifier. You gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Wow, okay. I forgot what the gravity surging magic was. I probably wouldn't take a huge dip into this. If I was a lunar magic sorcerer and I was taking a dip into wizard, I'd probably be taking a dip into gravity surging magic just because that was the more flavorful choice and not exactly the features that I would specifically go for. I mean, it's evocative of a gravity, but I'd probably do something else if I wanted to do a multi-class, if that makes sense. What could we multi-class into it, actually? With a lunar magic sorcerer and with all of those spells? Ooh, I mean, obviously a warlock sorcerer, a sorlock is always good. Let's see if we want to do... What's Moony out of all of these ones? I feel like the moon maybe has some charm elements to it, right? Fairy fire and sleep. Yeah, that's maybe then an archfey dip with a sorcerer with the lunar magic. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty good. Anything else? Maybe undead moon with a bane and false life and a form of dread, making people frightened of you. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe like a Halloween moon. Let's see if there's another one that I would do. Oh, Cleric, yeah, obviously. We talked about the Trickery Domain Cleric, and any dip into this Cleric is by far amazing. Or the... What another one would be? Maybe a Nature Domain Cleric? There's your animal stuff that we talked about. There's your animal stuff. And then a Death Domain, kind of, again, maybe more Grave Domain for the same aesthetic that you get for a Warlock. And then, there was another one. Yeah, Druid, obviously, because of the moon stuff. Moon stuff. Wildfire, Shepherd, Moon, Land, Stars. Stars, probably. Moon and Stars, right? Would be also another fun multi-class where you get Guidance, Guiding Bolts, all that stuff. You have a star map, and then you have your starry form. So, essentially, you can have your moon form and then your starry form. So you have a bunch of these planetary bodies just rotating around yourself. That's so cool. That's so cool. Kirido says, when a bread-loving pigeon makes a comeback. Oh, that's awesome. I miss that guy. I love that you remember him. So quite a few months ago now, I did a one-shot on Hidden Nerdy Sides channel, and I was a Cleric Rogue multi-class. And he ate bread and gave other people bread to heal, and he wore it kind of like as a necklace, as you see pigeons have those bread necklaces, and it was really fun. So I would bring him back for something else. It would be really fun. Nerdy Dalek, ooh, reflavor idea. Hey, here we go, awesome. Like many real-world polytheists, you are a cleric who worships multiple gods. Hey, there you go. Each moon phase is essentially you changing domain. There you go. Now you're talking. That's fantastic. Absolutely. So maybe I should do that. Maybe I should make a Lunar Magic Sorcerer reflavor video. Maybe I should do that this month. I actually haven't thought about it, but maybe I should. Excuse me. With the Abjuration and Divination, Enchantment and Necromancy, Illusion and Transmutation, you could absolutely... Wow, I am full of it today, aren't I? Excuse me, guys. You can absolutely change these to different gods and different things. So like Abjuration and Divination spells. What kind of cleric would that be? Abjuration and Divination. Well, you got me curious. Nerdy Dalek. Abjuration and Conjuration. No. Abjuration and Divination spells. I could see maybe an Arcana domain with Abjuration. And then a Divination would be maybe Knowledge. Maybe Knowledge domain. Let's see. We got Enchantment and Necromancy spells. So maybe that one would be Death. the Death Domain, and then the Crescent Moon with Illusion and Transmutation spells, Trickery. It would be Trickery. So it could be like evil deities, right? You got the Trickery Domain, you got the Death Domain, and you got the Arcana Domain. You could have like 3 separate like evil deities that you're kind of changing back and forth or worshiping them, and maybe you flavor them as whoever's fighting over you at the moment and who's winning. You just happen to be in that form because that one person is winning over your soul, which is kind of interesting. This could also be like layers of hell. This could be different planes of existence. This could be what's the word? And I just realized that you guys haven't seen anything that I've been going over for the last little bit. Because I'm still on my face. Dang it. But yeah, I think those are great ideas. And I'm going to have to kind of sit and think about those too. So what do you guys think? Would you guys play Lunar Magic Sorcerer? Are you guys excited about it? I'm honestly excited about it. I really am. And I hope that I hope that this kind of breakdown doesn't impede you from playing the Lunar Magic Sorcerer or get you unexcited about it, because that's not my intention at all, because it is still an evocative subclass. My intention is just kind of look at it from a flavor point of view and see if it really does feel like playing a Lunar Sorcerer when you expect to play a Lunar Sorcerer. Right? So, anyways, I was very talky today. I thank you guys so much for sticking with me and kind of just letting me kind of give a breakdown or just humoring me in that, because I just had a lot of fun breaking that down. And I might do a lot more of that in the future when we get kind of other subclasses. I'll probably post on the community page of my post on the community page of my D&D. Wow. Post on my YouTube page about the next subclass, so that you can comment and see if it's evocative or not. Maybe we can go back and do it. So anyways, tomorrow again, the One D&D next playtest is coming out. So I might do another breakdown. I might post about it. You'll see. If the only way that you can see my community posts is if you are subscribed. So make sure that you are subscribed. And then tune in this next weekend, because I got some Dragonlance stuff coming out, and something that I've done some videos like this in the past, but I'm really excited for this one as well. We got a couple of those kind of things coming. So, anyways, Kaleidoscope will end on this comment. I'm thinking any multiclass with a familiar would definitely ask for a moon rabbit flavor. A moon rabbit? What's a moon rabbit? Is that a thing? Now I hate to end on that, because now I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, in the meantime, go out there and spread the good word of D&D and make the world a better place, both on and off the table. See you guys in the next one.